So the Mariners have won 8 straight series, which is hashtag good, but now they have to play the A's, which is hashtag bad. Not so much because I think Oakland is a great team or a terrible matchup for the Mariners. I hate that they have to play in Sacramento. And the fact that this is going to be a more than a 1 year thing is stupid. I hate it. John Fisher, if you are watching this, you are an evil, vile human being. Sell the team. And until you do, I hope you stub your toe every single day. Let's talk about the A's. So they're 19-16. They've won 4 straight series. Now, it's worth pointing out those series have not exactly come against teams that are playing super hot right now. 2 of those series wins against the Rangers, the other 2 against the White Sox, and most recently, those pesky rivals of the Seattle Mariners, the Miami Marlins. And if you take a look at where they are in terms of stats, they are a pretty good offense and a so-so pitching staff. Taking a look at the hitting, they rank if exactly in the middle in runs scored. I think that's a little misleading. There's been a couple of oops-a-daisy games, but they've been, mostly solid. Their slugging percentage is 6th in baseball. Their batting average is 9th in baseball. And then their on-base percentage, because they do have some hackers, that's for sure, is 15th at 315. By the way, I'll never get used to that being an average number. Baseball, we got to do something. Pitching, 4.42 ERA ranks in the bottom third, as does the 1.41 whip. Batting average allowed is also not great at 252. We'll never get used to that not being a good number. And they are 11th in quality starts. Excuse me, they are tied for 15th with 11 quality starts. I'll do some more analytical numbers at some point with these things, but that number is just right in front of me on the ESPN page. And I do think it provides enough context with how the offense and how the pitching staff has been doing. So I think the biggest key to this series is keeping the ball in the park. For the A's, we want to see the Mariners hit the ball out of the park, but playing in this ballpark, which is friendly for hitters, it is not quite Albuquerque or something like that, or in the old days, Colorado Springs for the PCL for life, but it is a park that has some friendly dimensions and the ball can travel pretty good there. The key is keeping those home run guys like Brett Rooker, like Lawrence Butler, like Shea Langoliers, keeping them in the park, I think is the most important thing. And also just throwing strikes, because they have some hackers on this team. There are not a lot of guys who you take a look, and we take a look at the stats for these guys, who are exactly known for their patience at the plate. For instance, Jacob Wilson, one of my favorite players, has drawn all of 5 walks this year. The one guy who shows a little bit of patience at the plate is JJ Bleday. I'm not too afraid of that, if I'm being completely honest with you. Brent Rooker's only drawn a dozen walks. Lawrence Butler has only drawn 13 walks. Tyler Soderstrom, who's starting to slow down after a red-hot start, 13 walks. No, those aren't abhorrent numbers, but they're not exactly ideal. This is a team that you can get away with throwing pitches out of the zone. So throwing quality strikes and then just nibbling a little bit and testing the patience of these guys, I think, is going to be important, because they do have pop. They definitely have pop. Brett Rooker is one of the most underrated hitters in baseball. He has 9 home runs. Tyler Soderstrom has 9 home runs. Langoliers has 6 home runs. They can hit the ball out of the park and they can put it in the gaps as well. Jacob Wilson is starting to show much more pop than anticipated. I really like Jacob Wilson, by the way. I think he's going to be a real nuisance for a long time. His dad was a not so great offensive player, and Jacob is not as good of defender as his dad, but he's going to be a problem for a while. Also, not letting those big guys beat you. Now, we've talked about this every series, and it's just kind of an obvious thing. But the A's lineup quality from 7 to 9 drops a pretty good amount. So if you can keep those top 6 at bay and make the bottom beat you, you've got a really good chance with coming out with a series win. Let's take a look at these pitching matchups. So in game 1, we are going to have a matchup of Bryce Miller against Luis Severino. Severino pitched pretty well against Seattle in the opener, and he's been mostly solid so far in his first season. I think his contract was one of the most interesting I saw, one of the most blatant. We have to spend money to continue to get revenue sharing contracts that I've seen. And that's not an insult to Severino. It is an insult to their ownership group. They are awful. They are vile. I hate them. I really, really hate them. And but Severino is that guy who's 6-3 a lot. 6 innings pitched, 3 runs, probably give you 4 or 5 strikeouts. A guy they should be able to hit though. Now Miller obviously has been pitching well. It'd be really nice to see if he could start getting a little deeper into games. And I think this is the matchup where that might start to happen because of the fact that they do swing at a lot of pitches. They are not known for their patience at the plate. So I do think that Miller, he's faced some hacking teams. Like, you know what I'm trying to say. He's not facing a bunch of lineups of guys who are taking pitches like the 2070 Yankees. Did the Yankees even take a lot of pitches? Who knows? My whole point is one of the issues for Miller has been that he hasn't been able to finish off hitters efficiently, and they've been willing to take some pitches outside of the zone. I think this is a good get right because it's not like Miller's been pitching terribly. He just hasn't been able to get as deep into games as we would like. Pitching matchup number 2 is Jeffrey Springs against Emerson Hancock. A little worried about this one. Hancock in this AAA ballpark, not my favorite matchup. And Springs has not been pitching great, but I can't help but note that End is coming off actually one really good start against the Rangers, 6 innings of shutout baseball, but he dominated the Seattle lineup in his first matchup. Now, everything in between is not very good. Runs allowed of 5, 4, 3, 6, and 7. So Jeffrey Springs is certainly beatable. But he did have a pretty nice start against the Mariners. This is the one where I would say the Seattle Mariners do not have the pitching advantage. And then the third game, it's definitely, and this is all due respect to Gunnar Hugland, a guy who I really liked coming out of Ole Miss, first round pick, and pitched well in his MLB debut against Miami. Brian Wu should be able to have a significant advantage. Hugland is very beatable. This is a back end starting profile. So you take a look at those 3 games. This is a series the Seattle Mariners should absolutely win. But my one concern is the Mariners have faced some not so great bullpens. They're facing a good one this time. Mason Miller is as good as any pitcher in baseball, not reliever, as good as any pitcher in baseball. His stuff is electric. And then they've got some nice guys like Ferguson behind him, a couple other guys who were on my mind and now aren't. But this is why we can pause and look them up. Not sure how I forgot the name of a guy with an ERA of 0.00 and a K9 of, I believe, 11. But Justin Sterner has been fantastic. One of the breakout pitchers of the first month of the season. Mitch Spence is a solid reliever. Grant Holman has done a nice job for them. They have a good bullpen. They were able to get to that bullpen, especially in that first game of the series to open the year, aka opening day. But this is a good bullpen. This is one where I give the A's a slight advantage in lineup. I would give the Mariners a considerable advantage in starting pitching, with all due respect to Severino. But I would give the slight advantage to the bullpen for Oakland. Yeah, Oakland. That doesn't mean the Mariners should lose this series. I think that the advantage they have in pitching and the way this lineup has been playing right now, they should win 2 out of 3. They're going to lose the series at some point. I'm sorry to break it to you. And it will be disappointing if they don't win the series, of course. I'm disappointed every time they lose a game. That's just the way my mind works. But it's one of those series that on paper doesn't seem like a loss would be that big a deal. That's just my humble estimation. And this is the difference between me doing these compared to game recaps. And by the way, game recaps for Locked On Sports starting this week. Don't have a complete concrete date. I don't know what a complete concrete date is. Don't have a firm start date yet, but it'll definitely be this week. And we're very, very, very excited. So please check that out. Link in the description. What do you think? This a matchup that gives you trouble? Or are you just feeling it, baby? Why did I say baby? All right. We'll talk soon. By the way, Mile Y enthusiasts, prospect rankings tomorrow. It's going to be awesome. Bye.